I'm standing at the edge of a graveyard under a cold November rain, watching my son walk toward me in a $1,000 suit, and all I can think about is how much I want to turn around and leave before he reaches me. But my legs won't move. 7 years of silence, 7 years of stolen sleep and burning rage. And now he's here, at his father-in-law's funeral, coming to ask me for forgiveness, like it's something he can just take from me the way he took everything else. Before I tell you what happened next, I need to know I'm not alone in this. Leave me a comment below and tell me where you're listening from. Sometimes knowing there are other people out there who understand what betrayal feels like is the only thing that keeps me standing. My name is Margaret Helen Casterbrook. I'm 62 years old, and I used to own one of the most beautiful cattle ranches in all of Montana. 300 acres of rolling grassland, a stable with 12 American quarter horses, and a Victorian farmhouse that my great-grandfather built with his own hands in 1887. I raised my son Daniel in that house. I taught him to ride before he could properly walk. I showed him every fence line, every water source, every corner of that land, and told him, "Someday, son, this will all be yours." I was a widow by 50. My husband Robert died of a heart attack while fixing a fence post on the north pasture. Daniel was 27 then, already married to a woman named Vanessa, who smiled too much and asked too many questions about property values. After Robert's funeral, Daniel started coming around more often. At first, I thought it was grief, a son wanting to be close to his mother. I was grateful. The house felt so empty without Robert's voice echoing through the halls. But then, the questions started. "Mom, have you thought about what happens to the ranch if something happens to you? Mom, do you have a will? Is everything in order? Mom, wouldn't it be easier to sell some of the land? You're getting older. It's a lot of work." I brushed it off. I told myself he was just worried about me. I was 55, healthy as a horse, still riding every morning and managing the ranch hands myself. I didn't need help. I didn't need to sell. I had plans to keep that ranch running until my last breath, and then pass it on to Daniel just like it had been passed to me. Then one afternoon in late March, I got a call from my bank. A woman with a nervous voice asked me if I was aware that someone had attempted to access my accounts. I told her no. She said someone with power of attorney authorization had tried to transfer a significant amount of money. I told her I'd never given anyone power of attorney. That's when the walls started closing in. I drove into town that same day, walked into the county clerk's office, and asked to see any recent filings under my name. The clerk, a young man with kind eyes, printed out a stack of documents. My hands shook as I read them. Power of attorney, signed 6 months earlier. Transfer of deed applications, loan documents against the property. All of it bore my signature, except I'd never signed anything. I sat in my truck in the parking lot for an hour, staring at those papers. My own signature, perfectly forged. My son's name listed as the attorney in fact. I felt something break inside my chest, something that had nothing to do with my heart and everything to do with trust. I didn't confront him right away. I'm not a fool. I'd lived on a ranch my entire life. I knew that when you corner a dangerous animal, it attacks. So I waited, I watched, I started paying attention to the things I'd ignored before. Vanessa's new car, Daniel's expensive watches, the way they whispered to each other when they thought I wasn't listening. The way my son looked at the ranch now, not with love, but with calculation, like he was measuring every acre in dollar signs. I hired a lawyer quietly, a woman named Sarah Mendoza, who specialized in elder fraud. She was 40, sharp as a knife, and the first thing she said to me was, "Mrs. Casterbrook, we need to move fast. If those documents get processed, you'll lose everything." But I wasn't fast enough. One morning in June, I woke up to find trucks in my driveway. Men I didn't know were walking my property with clipboards and cameras. I stormed out in my robe and boots, demanding to know what was happening. One of them, a man in a real estate company jacket, looked genuinely surprised to see me. "Ma'am, we're doing the appraisal for the sale. Aren't you Mrs. Casterbrook?" "I am, and this property is not for sale." He showed me a document on his tablet. Purchase agreement, my signature at the bottom, Daniel's signature as power of attorney. The closing date was in 2 weeks. I called Daniel immediately. He didn't answer. I called 17 times. Finally, Vanessa picked up. "Margaret, Daniel is very busy right now. This really isn't a good time." "Put my son on the phone." "He's in a meeting. I'll have him call you back." "Vanessa, I swear to God, if you don't put him on the phone right now, I will drive to your house and, is everything okay?" Daniel's voice, smooth and concerned, cut through the line. "What have you done?" My voice cracked. "What have you done to my ranch?" There was a pause. Then he sighed, like I was the one being unreasonable. "Mom, we talked about this. You're not getting any younger. The ranch is too much for you. We found a buyer who's offering top dollar. This is for the best, for everyone." "We never talked about anything. You forged my signature. You stole my property. I have power of attorney, Mom. It's all legal. I'm making decisions in your best interest." "I never gave you power of attorney." Another pause, this one longer, colder. "Mom, you're not remembering clearly. You signed those documents last year. We did it at the lawyer's office. You were having one of your confused spells. We were worried about you." My blood ran ice cold. He was lying, creating a narrative, making me sound incompetent, senile, unable to manage my own affairs. It was a trap I hadn't seen coming. "Daniel, please, don't do this." "It's already done, Mom. The sale closes in 2 weeks. We've arranged a nice assisted living facility for you in Billings. You'll love it there. They have activities, and you won't have to worry about the ranch anymore." "I don't want assisted living. I want my home." "Mom, you're being irrational. This is exactly why we had to step in." He hung up. I stood there in my kitchen, the phone still pressed to my ear, and realized that my son had just stolen my entire life. I called Sarah Mendoza immediately. She told me we could fight it, but it would take time. Court filings, investigations. Proving the signatures were forged would require handwriting experts, document analysis, and depositions. The sale could go through before we even got a hearing. "Is there anything we can do right now?" I asked. "We can file an emergency injunction." "But Margaret, I need you to understand something. Your son is prepared for this. He's built a paper trail showing you as incapacitated. He has doctor's notes, witness statements. He's been planning this for a long time." Doctor's notes. I'd been to the doctor exactly twice in the past year for routine checkups. Both times, Daniel had insisted on coming with me, said he wanted to make sure I understood what the doctor was saying. I'd thought he was being a good son. He'd been building a case against me. I spent the next week living in a nightmare. Every day, I expected to wake up and find out it had been sold. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I walked my land like a ghost, touching fence posts and barn doors, memorizing every detail because I knew I was about to lose it all. Sarah filed the injunction. The judge denied it. Not enough evidence. The sale was legal according to the documents on file. The closing happened on a Wednesday. I wasn't invited. I found out about it when I got a certified letter telling me I had 30 days to vacate the premises. 30 days to leave the house where I was born, where my mother died, where I raised my son, where every wall held a memory. Every floorboard creaked with the weight of 4 generations. I called Daniel one last time. "I hope you're happy," I said. "I hope every dollar you made from selling my life was worth it." "Mom, please. This is for the best. You'll see that eventually." "I will never forgive you for this. You're upset now, but you'll understand. We're family. Family forgives. You're not my family anymore." I hung up before he could respond. I packed what I could fit in my truck. Photographs, my mother's quilts, Robert's wedding ring. I left everything else. Let them deal with it. let them sort through 70 years of memories and decide what to sell and what to throw away. I drove to Billings that night. I didn't go to the assisted living facility they'd chosen for me. Instead, I rented a small apartment on the east side of town, a place with thin walls and stained carpet and windows that looked out onto a parking lot. I had the money from my bank accounts, the ones they hadn't managed to access, enough to survive but not enough to fight back. For the first year, I was lost. I didn't know who I was without that ranch. I'd wake up at 5 in the morning out of habit, ready to feed horses that weren't there anymore. I'd reach for my boots and remember I didn't have anywhere to ride. I became a stranger to myself. But slowly, the grief turned into something else, something harder. Anger became focus. I started documenting everything, every forged document, every lie, every witness who might help me prove what Daniel had done. Sarah told me we needed time, needed to build an airtight case. So I waited, and I watched, and I prepared. I got a job working at a veterinary clinic, which kept me close to animals and gave me a reason to get up in the morning. I made friends, carefully, with people who didn't know about my son or my ranch or my shame. I rebuilt a small life from the ruins of my old one, and I never stopped thinking about justice. Then 3 weeks ago, I got a call from Vanessa's sister, a woman named Patricia, who I'd met a few times at family gatherings. She was crying. "Margaret, I need to tell you something. I can't stay silent anymore." She told me that Daniel and Vanessa's marriage was falling apart, that Vanessa's father, a wealthy real estate developer, had just died, leaving everything to Vanessa, that Daniel had been having an affair, that the money from my ranch was gone, spent on luxury cars and bad investments and gambling debts I'd never known about. "He destroyed you," Patricia sobbed, "and now he's destroying my sister. I thought you should know. I thought someone should finally tell the truth." I thanked her and hung up. Then I called Sarah Mendoza. "It's time," I said. "File everything. I want to take him to court." "Margaret, are you sure? This is going to get ugly." "It's been ugly for 7 years. I'm ready." The funeral was today. Gregory Hawthorne, Vanessa's father, buried in a cemetery outside of Great Falls. I didn't plan to go. I had no reason to be there. But Sarah convinced me. "Show your face," she said. "Let them see you're not broken. Let them know you're coming for them." So I drove 3 hours in the rain, wearing a simple black dress and my mother's pearl necklace. I stood at the edge of the gathering, watching from a distance as people in expensive clothes pretended to mourn a man most of them had barely known. And then I saw Daniel. He looked older, tired. The suit was nice, but it didn't hide the tension in his shoulders or the way his eyes darted around like he was expecting something bad to happen. Vanessa stood beside him, her face a mask of grief, but I could see the cracks. They weren't holding hands. They weren't even standing close. The service ended. People scattered toward their cars. I stayed where I was, watching the rain fall on the gravestones, thinking about my own father's funeral 30 years ago, when Daniel was just a boy crying into my shoulder. Then I heard footsteps behind me. "Mom!" I didn't turn around. I'd imagined this moment 1,000 times, practiced what I'd say, how I'd react. But now that it was here, I felt nothing but a cold, steady certainty. "Margaret," he said again, softer this time. He walked around until he was standing in front of me, blocking my view of the graves. Up close, I could see the lines around his eyes, the gray starting to show in his hair. He looked like his father. It hurt to see. "I've wanted to talk to you for a long time," he said, "but I didn't know how. I didn't know if you'd even listen." I stayed silent. Let him fill the empty space. "I know you're angry. I know you think I stole from you. But Mom, I need you to understand. I was trying to help. The ranch was failing. You were in denial about it. I was trying to save something before it was all gone." Still, I said nothing. His voice grew more desperate. "I've made mistakes. I know that. But you're my mother. You taught me that family forgives. You taught me that we take care of each other, no matter what." He took a breath, and I saw tears forming in his eyes. Real or fake, I couldn't tell anymore. "I've come to ask for your forgiveness." I looked at him then, really looked at him, saw my son and saw a stranger, saw the boy who used to bring me wildflowers and the man who'd stolen my life. "Forgiveness doesn't buy back what you lost," I said quietly. His face crumpled. "Mom, please, I need you. Everything is falling apart. Vanessa's going to leave me. I'm drowning in debt. I have nothing left." "Now you know how I felt. This is different. I'm your son. You were my son. Then you became something else." He reached for my hand. I pulled back. "I have copies of everything," I said calmly. "Every forged signature. Every false document, every witness statement you fabricated. My lawyer has spent 7 years building a case against you. We're filing criminal charges next week. Fraud, elder abuse, forgery. You're going to prison, Daniel." The color drained from his face. "You can't. You wouldn't. Watch me. I'm your son. You stopped being my son when you stole my life. You want forgiveness. You can ask for it from your cell." I walked past him toward my truck. He called after me, his voice breaking, but I didn't stop. I drove away from that graveyard and didn't look back. The next week, Sarah filed the charges. The police came to Daniel's house with a warrant. They found everything we needed: emails discussing the forgery, text messages with the lawyer who'd helped him, bank statements showing where the money went. It was all there, meticulously documented by a man who'd never thought his mother would fight back. The trial took 6 months. Daniel hired expensive lawyers, tried to argue that he'd been acting in my best interest, that I'd been incompetent. But Sarah destroyed every argument. She brought in handwriting experts who proved the signatures were forged. She brought in my doctors who testified I'd never shown signs of dementia or incapacity. She brought in Patricia, who testified about Daniel's spending and lies. The jury deliberated for 3 hours, guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced him to 8 years in federal prison for elder fraud and forgery. Vanessa divorced him before the sentencing hearing. She kept everything her father left her and moved back to California with their 2 kids. I haven't seen my grandchildren since the trial started. Maybe someday they'll want to know the truth. Maybe not. The ranch was sold, and I couldn't get it back. The new owners were a nice couple from Oregon who promised to take care of the land. I visited once, stood at the edge of the property, and looked at the house where I'd grown up. It hurt less than I thought it would. The land was still there. The mountains were still there. The memories were mine, and Daniel couldn't steal those. I used what was left of my savings to buy a small place outside of Billings. 5 acres, a barn, and room for 2 horses. It's not the ranch I lost, but it's mine. Really mine. No one can take it from me this time. I think about Daniel sometimes, especially late at night when the house is quiet. I think about the little boy who used to follow me around the ranch, asking a million questions about horses and cattle and land. I think about where that boy went, and when exactly he turned into the man who could look his mother in the eye and steal everything she loved. People ask me if I regret pressing charges. They say he's still my son, that family should forgive. But forgiveness isn't the same thing as justice. You can forgive someone and still hold them accountable. You can love the memory of who they were and still refuse to let them destroy you. I did what I had to do. Not out of revenge, though I won't lie and say that wasn't part of it. But mostly, I did it because elder abuse thrives in silence. It thrives when people are too ashamed to admit their own children betrayed them. It thrives when victims think they somehow deserve it or caused it or should have seen it coming. I didn't deserve what Daniel did to me. No one does. If you're out there listening to this and you recognize any part of my story in your own life, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not alone. You are not crazy. You are not too old to fight back. Document everything. Find a lawyer who specializes in elder law. Talk to people you trust. Don't let shame or family pressure or misplaced love keep you silent. Your children do not have the right to your life savings, your property, or your dignity just because they're your children. You worked for what you have. You earned it. And you deserve to keep it until you decide what to do with it. I'm 62 years old. I've lost my home, my ranch, and my relationship with my son. But I still have myself. I still have my strength. And I still have my voice to tell this story so that maybe, just maybe, someone else won't have to go through what I did. Daniel is 3 years into his sentence now. He writes me letters sometimes. They sit unopened in a box in my closet. Maybe someday I'll be ready to read them. Maybe I'll find it in myself to forgive him, truly forgive him, not for his sake, but for mine. But that day isn't today. Today, I woke up at 5 in the morning, fed my horses, and watched the sun rise over my 5 acres of Montana grassland. It's not the 300 acres I used to own, but it's mine. Every fence post, every blade of grass, every sunrise, and that's enough. That has to be enough. Because at the end of the day, the only thing anyone can truly take from you is what you give them. Daniel took my property, but he couldn't take my spirit. He took my ranch, but he couldn't take my will to survive. He took 7 years of my life, but he couldn't take my future. I'm still here. I'm still standing. And I'm still me. And if there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is refuse to break. Sometimes the best revenge is simply surviving and building something new from the ashes of what was destroyed. So that's what I'm doing. Building, surviving, living. And every single day, I make damn sure that I never forget the cost of misplaced trust or the value of fighting back. 5 years have passed since Daniel's conviction, and I'm sitting on my porch at sunset with a cup of coffee that's gone cold in my hands. The horses are settled in the barn for the night, and there's an autumn chill in the air that reminds me of all the seasons I've survived since that day in the graveyard when my son asked for forgiveness he hadn't earned. People think that justice means closure. They think that once the trial ends and the guilty verdict comes down and the prison doors close, you can finally move on with your life like flipping a page in a book. But it doesn't work that way. Justice is just the beginning of a much longer journey. One that takes you through anger and grief and confusion, and eventually, if you're lucky, towards something that resembles peace. I'm not there yet. I don't know if I'll ever be. But I'm closer than I was. The letters from Daniel kept coming, at first weekly, then monthly, now every few months. There are 43 of them in a wooden box in my bedroom closet, still sealed. I've moved that box 3 times, thought about burning it twice. And once I even drove to the post office to mail them all back marked "Return to Sender." But I didn't. They sit there like unopened wounds, and maybe that's where they need to stay for now. Sarah Mendoza told me I should read them. She thinks it might help me process everything. My therapist, a patient woman named Dr. Chen, who I started seeing 2 years ago, says I'll know when I'm ready. I'm not sure either of them understands that some things you're never ready for. Some betrayals cut so deep that even looking at the handwriting on an envelope feels like touching a live wire. But I'm learning that healing isn't linear. It's not a straight path from broken to whole. It's more like a spiral, where you keep circling back to the same pain, but from different heights, different perspectives. Each time around, you see it a little differently. You understand a little more. 6 months after the trial ended, I started volunteering at a legal aid clinic in Billings that specializes in elder law. I answer phones mostly, direct people to the right lawyers, sometimes just listen when someone needs to tell their story to another human being who understands. You'd be surprised how many calls we get. Adult children stealing from aging parents, power of attorney abuse, financial exploitation, emotional manipulation. The same story told 1,000 different ways, always ending with the same question. How did I not see this coming? I tell them what someone should have told me. You didn't see it coming because you loved them, because you trusted them, because you believed that family meant something sacred and unbreakable. And that's not a failure on your part. That's them exploiting the best parts of who you are. Last year, I helped a 74-year-old man named Albert whose daughter had convinced him to sign over his house while he was recovering from surgery. He cried in the clinic office. This proud man who'd worked construction for 50 years, built that house with his own hands, raised 5 kids in it. He kept saying, "I should have known. I should have seen what she was doing." I held his hand and told him, "You loved her. That's not something you should have to apologize for." We got him a lawyer. They're fighting it in court now. I don't know how it'll turn out, but at least he's fighting. At least he knows he's not alone. That's the thing about this kind of trauma. It makes you feel isolated, like you're the only person in the world stupid enough to be betrayed by their own child. But once you start talking about it, once you break through that wall of shame, you realize there's an entire invisible community of people carrying the same scars. We recognize each other in waiting rooms and grocery store lines and coffee shops. We see it in each other's eyes. That particular kind of wariness that comes from learning that blood doesn't always mean loyalty. I've made peace with never getting the ranch back. That took a long time and a lot of angry tears, but I got there eventually. The couple from Oregon who bought it, Jim and Susan, they invited me over for dinner last spring. I almost didn't go. I was afraid it would hurt too much to see someone else living in my house, walking my land, occupying the space where my whole life used to be. But I went. And it was hard, walking up that driveway, seeing the porch where Robert proposed to me, the barn where Daniel took his first steps. But it was also okay. Jim and Susan had painted the house a warm yellow instead of the white it had been. They'd added a greenhouse. They'd rescued 3 dogs who came running up to greet me like I was an old friend. "We've heard so much about you," Susan said, hugging me like we'd known each other for years. "This house has such incredible history. We want to honor that." They showed me around, and I could see they loved it, really loved it. Not the way Daniel had loved it, calculating its value in dollar signs. They loved it the way I had loved it, for the way the morning light hit the mountains, for the sound of wind through the grass, for the feeling of being connected to something bigger than yourself. "I'm glad it's you," I told them before I left. And I meant it. I've learned that letting go doesn't mean the thing you lost didn't matter. It just means you're choosing to keep living instead of staying frozen in the moment of loss. The ranch was my past. These 5 acres, this small barn, these 2 horses I ride every morning, this is my present. And it's enough. It has to be enough. Because the alternative is spending the rest of my life bitter and broken. And I refuse to give Daniel that power over me. My granddaughter reached out to me 8 months ago. Emma, she's 15 now, probably doesn't even remember me from when she was little. She found me on social media, which I barely understand how to use, and sent me a message. "Grandma, I know what my dad did to you. Mom told us everything. I don't know if you want to talk to me, but I'd like to know you." I stared at that message for 3 days before responding. Part of me was afraid it was a trick, another manipulation, Daniel using his daughter to get to me somehow. But Dr. Chen reminded me that Emma is not Daniel. She's her own person, and she's brave for reaching out. We started slow, messages back and forth, then phone calls. Last month she came to visit. Her mom driving her all the way from California. Emma is tall and serious with her father's eyes, but none of his calculating coldness. She asked direct questions. "Do you hate him? Will you ever forgive him? Do you hate us for being his kids?" I answered as honestly as I could. "I don't hate your father. I hate what he did. And no, sweetheart, I could never hate you. You didn't do anything wrong." She cried then, and I held her, this young girl carrying guilt that wasn't hers to carry. "I'm so sorry," she kept saying. "I'm so sorry for what he did to you." "That's not your apology to make," I told her. "You don't have to carry your father's sins." She's coming back for Christmas. She wants to learn to ride. Says she's always wondered what it was like growing up on a ranch. I'm teaching her, slowly, carefully, the same way I taught Daniel when he was young. But this time I'm holding my heart back a little, protecting it, because I've learned that love without boundaries is just an invitation to be hurt again. I think that's the hardest lesson of all this. Learning to love people while also protecting yourself. Learning that you can care about someone and still keep them at a distance. It feels wrong somehow, unnatural, like love is supposed to be all or nothing. But I've learned the hard way that some relationships need walls, not to keep people out, but to keep yourself safe while you figure out if they can be trusted. The other day, I was going through some old photos and I found one of Daniel when he was 7. He's sitting on a horse, grinning at the camera with this pure, uncomplicated joy. I stared at that photo for an hour, trying to reconcile that little boy with the man who forged my signature and stole my life. Where does that transformation happen? At what moment does a child who loves you become an adult who betrays you? I don't have the answer. Maybe there isn't one. Maybe people are just complicated, capable of both genuine love and calculated cruelty. Maybe Daniel did love me in his way, even while he was destroying me. Maybe those two things can exist simultaneously in the same person. Or maybe I'm just trying to make sense of something that will never make sense. Patricia, Vanessa's sister, stayed in touch. She feels guilty, she says, for not speaking up sooner. I told her the same thing I told Emma. This isn't your guilt to carry. But she insists on checking in every few weeks, sending cards on holidays, calling just to talk. She's become something like a friend, though it's a strange friendship built on the wreckage of our families. She told me recently that Vanessa's struggling, raising 2 teenagers alone, dealing with her own anger at Daniel for ruining their lives. She asks about you sometimes, Patricia said. Wonders if you blame her. I don't blame Vanessa. Not anymore. I think she was as much a victim of Daniel's lies as I was, just in different ways. She thought she was marrying a good man, building a life with someone trustworthy. Finding out he was capable of what he did to me must have shattered her understanding of reality. I can't hate her for that, but I can't forgive her either. She knew, at least partially, what was happening. Maybe she didn't know about the forged signatures, but she knew about the pressure on me to sell, the manipulation, the gaslighting. She benefited from my loss. And even if she's paying for it now, that doesn't erase what happened. So I exist in this strange middle ground with most people connected to that time. Not quite forgiving, not quite condemning, just existing alongside them in this shared history of damage and survival. The criminal restitution from Daniel's case amounted to almost nothing. By the time the lawyers and the court took their pieces, and after accounting for all the money Daniel had already spent or lost, I received about $30,000. It's not nothing, but it's nowhere close to what I lost. The ranch sold for over $2 million. That money is gone, scattered to casinos and failed investments and expensive cars that have long since been repossessed. Sometimes I imagine what I would have done with that money if Daniel had just waited, if he'd been patient, if he'd let me live out my life on that ranch and inherited it naturally when I died. He would have had everything anyway, eventually. He would have had the land, the money, the legacy, all of it. But he couldn't wait. That's what I keep coming back to. He couldn't wait for me to die naturally. He had to take it now, immediately, even if it meant destroying me in the process. And that urgency, that greed, that impatience, it ended up costing him everything. He betrayed me for money he spent in less than 3 years. He traded his mother, his family, his freedom, for nothing that lasted. There's a kind of poetry in that, I suppose, a cosmic justice. But it doesn't make me feel better. It just makes the whole thing feel more wasteful, more pointless, more tragic. I wonder sometimes if Daniel thinks about that in prison. If he lies awake at night, calculating what he could have had versus what he ended up with. If he's capable of that kind of self-reflection, or if he's still telling himself stories where he's the victim, where I'm the unreasonable one, where everything would have been fine if I'd just understood what he was trying to do? I'll probably never know. Maybe that's for the best. Last week, I did something I've been avoiding for 5 years. I drove to the prison where Daniel is serving his sentence. I didn't go inside. I didn't request a visit. I just sat in my truck in the parking lot for 2 hours, looking at the gray walls and razor wire, trying to imagine my son somewhere behind them. I thought about going in. I played out the conversation in my head 100 different ways. What I would say. What he would say. Whether it would help or hurt or change anything at all. In the end, I drove away without leaving my truck. I wasn't ready. Maybe I never will be. But I think the fact that I went at all means something. It means I'm still wrestling with this, still trying to figure out what forgiveness looks like, what it costs, whether it's even possible or desirable. Dr. Chen says forgiveness isn't about the other person. It's about releasing yourself from the weight of anger. But I don't know if I want to release it yet. Sometimes anger is all that holds you together. Sometimes fury is the only thing that keeps you from falling apart completely. I've started writing everything down. This story, other stories, memories from before all of this happened. Good memories of Daniel when he was young, when he was kind, when he was the son I thought I knew. I don't know what I'll do with these writings. Maybe nothing. Maybe I'll give them to Emma someday, so she can know her father was once more than the man who went to prison. Maybe I'll burn them in a moment of anger, or maybe I'll keep them for myself as a reminder that people are complicated, that someone can be both the little boy who brought you wildflowers and the man who stole everything you built, that love and betrayal can come from the same hands, that nothing is as simple as we want it to be. I'm 67 now. I have arthritis in my hands, and my knees ache when it rains. I move slower than I used to. I get tired earlier. I am, objectively, getting old. But I'm also stronger than I was 7 years ago. Not physically, but in the ways that matter more. I know who I am now. I know what I'm capable of surviving. I know that I can lose everything and still rebuild something worth having. That's not nothing. That's actually everything. If you're out there listening to this and you're facing something similar, here's what I want you to know. You will survive this. It won't feel like it at first. There will be days when you can't get out of bed, days when the shame feels like it's crushing your chest, days when you question every decision you ever made and wonder if you somehow deserved this. You didn't. You don't. You never will. What was done to you is not your fault. The people who hurt you made choices. They chose greed over love. They chose money over family. They chose to betray the trust you gave them freely. Those are their choices, their failures, their sins to carry. Your job is not to forgive them. Your job is not to make it easy for them. Your job is to survive, to rebuild, to refuse to let their betrayal define the rest of your life. Your job is to protect yourself and to make sure they face consequences for what they've done. And then, if you're very lucky and you work very hard, your job is to find a way to live again. Really live. Not just exist in the shadow of what happened, but to build something new. Something smaller maybe, something different, but something that's truly yours. That's what I've done. That's what I'm still doing. Every single day. The sun is setting now, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple that remind me why I fell in love with Montana in the first place. One of my horses, a gentle mare named Daisy, is watching me from the pasture, probably wondering when I'm going to come give her the apple I always sneak her after dinner. In a few minutes, I'll go inside and make myself something to eat. I'll watch the news or read a book, or maybe just sit in the quiet. Tomorrow I'll wake up early and feed the horses and ride out across my 5 acres and feel grateful for what I have instead of bitter about what I lost. And the day after that, I'll do it again, and again, and again, because that's what survival looks like. Not a single moment of triumph or breakthrough or dramatic forgiveness, just the quiet, persistent act of choosing life over and over again, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Daniel gets out of prison in 3 years. I don't know what happens then. I don't know if he'll try to contact me or if he'll have learned anything from his time inside. I don't know if I'll be ready to see him or if I'll ever be ready. But I know this. I'll still be here. Still standing. Still me. And whatever comes next, I'll face it the way I've faced everything else. With my eyes open, my boundaries clear, and my heart just a little bit more guarded than it used to be. That's not the ending I would have chosen, but it's the ending I've earned. And somehow, after everything, that's enough. The coffee in my cup is cold now. The sun has dipped below the mountains. There's a chill in the air that means winter is coming. But inside my small house on my 5 acres, there's warmth and safety and peace. I built this, not anyone else, me, and no one can take that away.